Hi everyone, I'm Will Granger, and this is my podcast for my Substack newsletter, Will Granger's Writing and Historical Fiction newsletter in Substack. I'm creating this podcast and the newsletter to post about my writing process and my research for my upcoming historical fiction novel, When Royal Heads Are Hunted. It's about the Aztecs, the conquistadors, and the Calusa Indians from Florida. My newsletter is free, and I'm never going to charge for my content there. So my episode this week, I'm going to title it An Unhappy Marriage for a Calusa Princess and a Spanish Admiral. And the story goes that in 1565, Spanish Admiral Pedro Menendez and several ships arrived off of Mound Key on the west coast of Florida and wanted to meet with King Calusa or Carlos of the Calusas. And they ended up meeting, and negotiations began, and both groups kind of gave each other gifts and talked back and forth. And Menendez wanted to establish a base or a fort in the Calusa territory. So they talked back and forth, and eventually Carlos agreed to do it on one condition. And his condition was that Menendez marry his sister. Now, they hadn't met or anything like that, and he was just kind of giving his sister up. And there was one major complication for this. Menendez had a wife back in Spain already, but he also saw no real choice in the matter because Carlos wasn't going to give in. So he had no choice but to go along with the marriage. And then he really apparently had a problem with consummating the marriage, but then he decided to do his duty in order to, complete his mission and establish a base there. So they got married. They set up a fort on Mound Key, and the story continued much longer after that. But I will say that it was a very unhappy union, and they never really were close, and it wasn't a happy marriage or anything like that as time went on. So that's the story there. I'll give more in an upcoming issue about what actually happened later on with the marriage and how things played out. So thanks for listening. That's it for this week. If you want to learn more about my work and read some of my longer posts, please check out my Substack newsletter, Will Granger's Writing and Historical Fiction, at granger.substack.com. Please let people know about my upcoming book, When Royal Heads Are Hunted. It's coming out on October 1st. I'll have more details on that. And I would like to add that in my research and my writing, I never use AI. I'm just sort of anti-AI, and I didn't use it for any of my work on this book whatsoever, and I'm not going to. All right, thanks for listening. Take care.